We are continuing with the Risale-I Nur. This week I'm going to focus on the 22nd letter of the Risale-I Nur, inshallah. And it's based on a number of verses from the Quran. And it's mainly focuses on the importance of brotherhood and sisterhood between believers. As you know, there's a famous verse in the Quran which says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Verily, the believers are brethren, so reconcile when you're brothers. Repel evil with what is better than it, then the one between whom you and yourself enmity prevails will become like your friend and intimate. Those who suppress their anger and forgive people, verily Allah loves those who do good. So this is an encouragement for people, or especially specifically believers, to have good manners, in particular to suppress your anger and be forgiven, because Allah is the one who forgives. And when you think about the amount of, the sins, the rebellion, done against Allah, the creator, the owner of the universe, and how much He's forgiving, He's still allowing people to breathe, live, eat, even those, who insult God. Imagine that. So this shows how much of a rahmah, mercy and compassion He has. And here, Bediüzzaman Said Nursi will mainly focus on the brotherhood between believers. This is again, I'll mention it, the 22nd letter of the letters. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dispute and discord among believers, people of belief, and partisanship, obstinacy, and envy, leading to rancor and enmity among them, are repugnant and vile. They are harmful and sinful by the combined testimony of wisdom and the supreme humanity that is Islam, for personal, social, and spiritual life. So, if there is partisanship, discord, obstinacy, envy, jealousy between brothers and sisters, there will be rancor, and there will be enmity, hostility among them. And these are repugnant and awful, harmful things, Bediüzzaman says. Especially it will cause harm to humanity, which is Islam. We will set forth 6 of the extremely numerous aspects of this truth. So he's going to explain under 6 aspects this reality, this truth. The first aspect, they are sinful in the view of truth. So having discord between brothers is sin, according to Islam, he says, according to haq, according to truth. All unjust men nurturing rancor and enmity against a believer. Now he's saying, addressing a person who has, enmity towards his brother or a sister. Let us suppose that you were on a ship. This is a very interesting principle he brings here. It's a principle of justice, but it's also a principle of humanity, and also conscience as well. He says, suppose that you were on a ship or in a house with 9 innocent people and 1 criminal. If someone were to try to make that ship sink or set the house on fire because of that 1 criminal or a terrorist, think about it, you know how great a sinner he would be. Imagine there's this boat, 10 people on it. 9 of them are innocent people. 1 of them is a criminal or a terrorist. Now, would you sink that boat? You're going to kill 9 innocent people just because of 1 criminal there. So, how great a sin would be to do that? Would you would cry out of the heavens against this sinfulness, even if there were one innocent person and nine criminals aboard the ship? It would be against all rules of justice to sink it. And if nine of them were evil people, criminals, only one innocent people, no justice would allow that ship to be sunk. No justice would allow that because of that one innocent person. Now you can draw a picture on what's happening around the world today. Because of trying to, kill some criminals, some terrorists, or whatever they think they are, they're killing thousands and thousands of innocent people in the world. Think about it. But he says no justice would accept that. Even if nine of them were, terrorists, they were evil. If there's one innocent people in that house, you cannot burn the house down. So too, if there are in the person of a believer who may be compared to a dominical dwelling, a divine ship, not nine, but as many as 20 innocent attributes, such as Iman, Islam, neighborliness, and so on. And if you then nurture enmity against him on account of that one criminal attribute that harms and displeases you, attempting or desiring the sinking of his being, the burning of his house, then you too will be a criminal guilty of a great atrocity. What he's saying too, just as the ship example, the house example, every believer has many beautiful attributes. Every believer, all of us. And he says at least 20 beautiful attributes, like they believe in Allah, they believe in Islam, they worship Allah. They are your brothers, they are your sisters, they are your neighbors or whatever. There's so many good qualities. But this is human nature. We may have some bad qualities in us too, some bad side too. Now he's saying wiping that person off just because of one bad quality, whereas he has or she has 20 different beautiful qualities, is like sinking that boat. It's similar. And no justice would accept that. So sometimes it's important to forgive, and sometimes, to understand, to try to understand. Maybe this person's character is like that. Maybe he doesn't mean that. Or maybe sometimes it's just oversee it, because you probably have different, issues with yourself as well. All of us may have some bad sides as well. The second aspect is they are also sinful in the view of wisdom, hikmah, for it is obvious that enmity and love are opposites. Just as light and darkness, while maintaining their respective essences, they cannot be combined. And I mentioned this a few times, light and darkness cannot occupy the same space. You cannot have light in here and darkness at the same time. It's either dark or light. So he is saying love and enmity, having hostility against someone, thinking them as an enemy, and love are two opposite things. And they cannot occupy the same space. So you cannot have love and hatred in your heart at the same time for a certain individual, let us say. You either love that person or you hate them. You cannot have both in there. If love is truly found in a heart, by virtue of predomination of the causes that produces it, then enmity in the heart can only be metaphorical. It cannot be real. So if you truly have true love for your brother, for your sister, then enmity, even if there are some in that heart, would be metaphorical, not real. and takes on the form of compassion. It should turn into compassion. It's very interesting. So let us say, a person, a brother, a believer, and that person commits this sin. He's a good person, has all these qualities, common qualities, but he commits one sin. So instead of having a hatred to that person because of that sin, if you truly consider that person as your brother or sister, then that hatred shouldn't be real, authentic. It should be just metaphorical, and it should convert into compassion. What that means is, that person has doing one mistake. You should try to save him from that, protect him from that. The believer loves and should love his brother and is pained by any evil he sees in him. He attempts to reform him, not with harshness, but gentleness. Even little things, little mistakes should be corrected with ahlak and adab. That's how Islam is. You never say anything to a person's face. You don't break your ties with them. You don't go on a non-speaking terms because, as you know, our Prophet says two believers cannot be on non-speaking terms for more than 3 days. Not permitted. And if you want to teach them something, you either teach them by being a temsil, you represent, or you speak to them in a manner that it won't break their hearts. That's important. Or you show them somehow. There is a very famous incident when the noble prophet's two grandsons, Hassan and Hussein, they come to the masjid one day and they see this elderly man taking wudu. And he was doing it wrong. And they thought about it. They're young, going to teach an elderly man how to do wudu. It's not very nice from an adab perspective, morality perspective. So what they do is they say, "Oh, uncle, me and my brother, we take wudu a little bit differently. I think mine is the correct way, and he thinks his is the correct way. Can you just watch us to see which one of us is doing it rightly?" And the man says, "Okay." So he watches both of them take the wudu. It's perfect, just the way the Prophet does it. And then he smiles. He says, "You're both right. I'm the one who's doing it wrong." See? Teaching in a way that without breaking anyone's hearts. This is very important in Islam. There is another incident with Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh. When he was the Khalifa, he is in the masjid giving the khutbah during Jummah or one of those big events. And somebody releases gas in the thing. They break their wood in the masjid. There's all Sahabis everywhere. And people hear the sound. And Hazrat Ömer in the khutbah, he says, "Whoever did that, go and take wudu," like this. And then one of the Sahabis stand up, he says, "Oh, Omar, why don't we all go and take wudu?" See? And Hazrat Ömer says, "You're correct. Let's go and take wudu again." So they don't, they don't point him out. See? How important these things, how delicate. So if we see a mistake with our brother, a sin with our brother or sister, we try to reform them not with harshness, but gentleness. It is for that reason that the noble Prophet ﷺ says, no believer should be angered with another and cease speaking for him more than 3 days. He mentioned it again, as you can see. In fact, this is not even limited to believers because we don't know what lies in the hearts of people. We don't know what goes through their minds. It's Allah. They're all in Allah's hands. We cannot know. And as you know, there's a very famous incident with Usama bin Zayd, the son of Zayd bin Harith. During a battle, they're fighting with the enemy. with the idol worshippers, mushriks, and his opponent, Usama's opponent, he puts him down. Usama puts him down. When he's on the floor, he takes his sword out up like this, Usama, and the man says, "Wait, I'm going to say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah." And Usama brings the sword down, kills him. And when he returns to Medina, the Prophet hears about it. Prophet stands up in anger. In fact, Usama says, I wish, when I saw the anger on the Prophet's face, I wish I had not become a Muslim until that day. The Prophet gets so upset. He said, why did you do that, Usama? And he says, he wasn't sincere. He was just doing it to save his life. And the Prophet says, very famous hadith, did you open his chest and have a look inside? How do you know? How do you know? So Islam saves lives, not takes lives. There's a verse very clear in the Quran. Killing a human being is like killing an entire humanity. If you kill an innocent human being, it's like you have killed the entire humanity. And the verse follows, saving a human being is like saving the entire humanity. Allah says this. So if the causes that produce enmity predominate, a true enmity takes up its seat in the heart, then the love in that heart will become metaphorical. There will be no true love for your brother or sister or fellow believer, and take on the form of artifice and flattery. And even the things you speak to that person will not be sincere. O unjust men, see now how a great sin and rancor and enmity towards a brother believer is. If you were to say that ordinary small stones are more valuable than the Kaaba and greater than Mount Uhud, it would be an ugly absurdity. If you claim that you have some stones in your hand, these stones are more valuable than Kaaba. Or if you say they are greater than Mount Uhud, that would be an ugly absurdity. So too, Iman, which has the value of the Kaaba, and Islam, which has the splendor of Mount Uhud, as well as other Islamic attributes, demand love and concord. But if you prefer to believe in Islam certain shortcomings which arouse hostility, but in reality are like the small stones, you will be engaging in great injustice and foolishness and sin. So he says Iman, which has the value of Kaaba. In fact, it has much more value than Kaaba. Iman. Because there is a famous saying by, again, Hazrat Umar ibn al-Khattab. He says, I rather break the wall of Kaaba than to break a believer's heart. It's very interesting, isn't it? I rather break the wall of Kaaba than to break a believer's heart. Because Iman, that's where the Iman is, in the heart, and Iman has more value than anything else. So too belief, as I said, which has more value than Kaaba, and Islam has that splendor of Mount Uhud. They're not like small, valueless stones. The unity of Iman necessitates also the unity of the hearts. If we all believe in the same thing, then our hearts should have unity as well. And the oneness of our creed, Aqidah, demands the oneness of our society. So if we have the same Aqidah, same creed, then our society should be one too, one body, Muslims, believers. You cannot deny that if you find yourself in the same regiment as someone, You will form a friendly attachment to him. It's interesting how he makes these analogies to strengthen his argument. So he's saying if you find yourself in a same regiment in the army, you're part of this regiment in the army, the person next to you is like a brother to you. You will find very strong attachment with that person because your life is in his hands, his life is in your hands, isn't it? That's how the army is. A brotherly relation will come into being as a result of your both being submitted to the same orders of a single commander, because you're getting your orders from the same commander. You will similarly experience a fraternal, brotherly relation through living in the same town with someone. Now, there are ties of unity, bonds of union, and relations of fraternity as numerous as the divine names that are shown and demonstrated to you by the nur, by the light and consciousness of Iman. Think about it. We do have that connection when you're part of the same group. It happens, doesn't it? Like we are in the same class in uni. It's a different thing. Or we are in the same sports team. We are all, for example, we are part of the Jamaat here. You have that closer bond, isn't it? Even you can increase to a bigger levels. Well, you can say, oh, we come from the same nation, for example. People do have some bonds like that. We're in the same neighborhood again. But the biggest bond that brings you together, you believe. You believe in same Allah. You believe in the same Quran, same prophet, same angel. See, that is the biggest bonds, isn't it? So everyone who believes like you becomes bonded with you. That is why the Quran says believers are but brothers, very clearly. And that brotherhood or sisterhood, there's sisters on the line too, is more stronger than biological brotherhood. Much stronger. And we have seen it throughout history as well. During the battles of, Badr, Uhud, there was a person on this side, Sahabe, like Huzaifa, for example. His father and brother was on the other side. But he was with his true brothers, although his father was on the other side. Your creator, your owner, object of worship, your provider, sustainer, is one and the same for both of you. Thousands of things that are and same for you. Your prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, your deen, your religion, your qibla are one and the same, and hundreds of things are one and the same for you. Then you too, your village is one, your state is one, your country is one. You can keep on multiplying this. Tens of things that are one and the same for you. All of these things held in common dictate oneness and unity, Tawheed of Allah. So you should be forming a Tawheed too, unity among you. And it requires union and concord, love and brotherhood, and indeed the cosmos, oneness and unity indeed the cosmos and the planets are similarly interlinked by unseen chains. So he gave another analogy here. If you look at, for example, the solar system, yeah, there's the sun in the middle, and all the planets are orbiting it. They are all linked somehow, but we don't see the chains. We don't see the ties that link them. It's gravity, isn't it? It is unseen, but they're all linked and they're all working together. You can take that from cosmological perspective, go down all the way down to subatomic perspective. Same things happen there. Everything works in unity. You have, for example, approximately 86 trillion living cells in your body, and they are like brothers and sisters too. They're all linked and they're all working together to keep you alive. See the unity that Allah created in the universe? Now, believers should be the same. That's what he's saying here. So all of these things held in common dictate oneness and unity, union and accord, love and brotherhood, just like those planets and cosmological, objects which are linked through some sort of a tie. If despite all this, you prefer things worthless and transient as a spider's web that give rise to dispute and discord, to rancor and enmity, and engage in true enmity towards a believer, then you will understand, unless your heart is dead and your intelligence is extinguished, how great is your disrespect for that bond of unity, your slight to that relation of love, your transgression against that tie of brotherhood. So how unfair would you be acting, behaving, if you have enmity against your fellow believer, your brother or your sister? The third aspect is, in accordance with the meaning of the verse, no bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another, which means I cannot be questioned for your sins, or you cannot be questioned for my sins. We carry our own burdens, the Quran says, which express pure justice. To nurture rancor and enmity towards a believer is like condemning all the innocent attributes found in him on account of one criminal attribute or bad attribute, we should say, and is hence an act of great injustice. If you go further and include in your enmity all the relatives of the believer on account of this single evil attribute of his, then in accordance with the following verse, in which the active participle is in the intensive form. How smart, isn't it? He's saying, the Quran says, I cannot be blamed for the sins of another person. And he says, you don't like a person, let us say. He has mistakes, he did something wrong to you. And because of that, you wipe out his entire family. You say they're all bad, they're all evil. How wrong is that, he's saying? The Quran says, verily, man is much given to wrongdoing. Man is much given to wrongdoings. So we are really inclined towards wrongdoing. It is the test that we are going through. And to be able to overcome this test and succeed, we need to start looking into our own hearts before we, look at the behaviors of others. You will have committed a still greater sin and transgression against which truth, the Sharia, and the wisdom of Islam combine to warn you. How then can you imagine yourself to be right and say, I am in the right? In the view of Haqq, the truth, the cause of enmity and all forms of evil is in itself evil and is dense like clay. So in the view of Haqq, the truth, all types of enmity towards brothers, sisters, and all forms of acts of evil towards them are evil in themselves. And they are dense like clay. It cannot infect or pass on to others. If someone learns from it and commits evil, that is another question. Good qualities that arouse love are luminous like love. It is part of their function to be transmitted and produced effects. So good will spread more quickly. And evil is not something that really spreads. People don't like, in actual fact, people don't like evil. True humans will not like evil. Like it is like it's explained in one book where another scholar says, good amel or good ahlak, I should say, good morals. If you're a good person, you have good morals, you have good adab, ahlak, they are like a perfume, he says. And when you put on a nice perfume, it will attract people. And he says bad amel or bad ahlak is like an awful odor, stench. If you have a smell like that, people will try to distance themselves from you. But ahlak is one of the most important things of religion anyway, Islam. Because there are a number of hadiths about ahlak, good manners, where one person says, who is the most lovable by the side of Allah? He asks the noble Prophet, ﷺ, and our noble Prophet says, the one who has the best ahlak, best manners. And the Prophet had the best manners. And the Quran confirmed this. You are created on the best of manners, the Quran says. So the friend of a friend is friend. This is very interesting. It is for this reason that the proverb has come into being. The friend of a friend is friend. One should consider that. So the brother of a brother is brother. And also it is said that many eyes are beloved on account of one eye. That's another saying. So if you love the Prophet, then you love the Sahaba. You love the Prophet's family. You love the Sahaba. You love those who follow the Prophet. You love those who came after them. You know, whether it's the Sahaba, Tabi'in, Tabi'in, and scholars that come after. And you love all of them. We love all of these special people because of that one eye, the Prophet. That is the Prophet. Because we love him, and we love other things because of him. One famous poet, Yunus Emre, he says, we love the created because of the creator. Because they are his creation. We love the creator, created because of the creator. So, O unjust man, if such be the view of truth, you will understand now, if you have the capacity for seeing the truth, how great an offense is to cherish enmity for the likable and innocent brothers and relatives of a man you dislike. Ercüment, let us say, has a brother. I don't like some of the things, the way he behaves. And because of that, I start having enmity towards Ercüment too. It's off. Fourth aspect, it is a sin from the point of view of personal life. And listen to the following four principles, which are the base of this fourth aspect. The first principle, when you know your way and opinions to be true, you have the right to say, my way is the right and the best way. But you do not have the right to say, only my way is right. According to the sense of the eye of contentment is too dim to perceive any faults. It is the eye of anger that exhibits all vice. So if you have contentment, if you're happy with something, your eyes becomes too dim to see any faults. But if you have this anger, hatred, it starts taking out all the faults. Your unjust view and distorted opinion cannot be the all-decisive judge and cannot condemn the belief of another as invalid. That is why if you look at Ahl Sunnat wal Jamaat principles, creeds, all of the greatest scholars, they said you cannot make takfir upon a person of Qibla, which means that you cannot call any believer a kafir. Anyone. In fact, people like Fahrettin Razi says, even if you see some acts of kufr on them, you should still not call them kafir. You should refrain from it. Because there is a hadith where the Prophet says, if one calls another brother a kafir, one of them will become a kafir. If that person doesn't have that quality, it will return to you. So takfir is forbidden, although some people do it a lot these days. It's forbidden for us. Second principle is, it is your right. Another one, a thing about this, we have a lot of jamaats too, all right? Different sects. This is a reality of life. Not everyone can be the same. You can have, Sufi groups they have, like Naqshbandis, Gailanis, all these things. You have another different group. You have some other group, they follow another sheikh. You know what I mean? We have these jamaats, and it's the reality of Islam, Islamic societies. What he is saying that if you are part of a jamaat and you truly believe that they are on the right path, you have a right to say, my jamaat is beautiful and is the best. You have right. He says, but you don't have the right to say that jamaat is no good. Because he resembles it to different flower gardens. That's how Islamic jamaats are. But your nature maybe likes roses, for example. You go enter a rose garden, you say, oh, this is beautiful. But can you say, there's carnations there in that garden? Carnations are no good. No, they're beautiful too, they're flowers too. So this is how we should look at all jamaats as well. So he makes that point there. It's very important, yeah. So the second principle is, it is your right that all that you say, you're going to find this very interesting. It is your right that all that you say should be the truth. Whatever you say should be the truth. But not that you should say all that is true. Can you understand this? I'm going to explain it. For one, insincere intention may sometimes take unkindly to advice and react against it unfavorably. So what he's saying that everything you speak should be the truth, but you do not have right to say the truth on every occasion. That's what it means. Like, for example, I say Abdul abi, yeah? But I'll tell you one truth. Abdul abi is bald. But that's the truth. Yes. But is it nice for me to say bald Abdul abi? No. No. See? So everything you speak should be the truth, but you don't have the right to say the truth on every occasion because it might harm the other person or make him feel insulted. It won't harm him because he's like Yilbrina, so it's no problem. But that's what the analogy is there. So, and sometimes when you explain something, if there's some people that are not really, this can happen to human beings. They're not very happy the way you are. You know what I mean? They have something against you. They don't hate you, but they don't want to hear things from you. If you're in a situation like that, I would say, instead of me explaining these truths, I said, Matthew should explain it better. Because I'm not going to do good to those people by explaining, They're not going to take it. So I would prefer my brother to explain it better. The third principle is, if you wish to nourish enmity, hatred in your heart, then directed against the enmity in your heart. Another thing. Hoca Efendi says this too. It's very, very interesting. If you must hate something, hate the hatred itself. In fact, I remember once Hoca Efendi said, I removed the term hatred from my dictionary, he said. I removed the term hatred from my dictionary. So if you must hate something, then hate the hatred in your heart. Don't direct it to others. Try to get rid of it. Be an enemy to your own evil commanding soul, your nefs. Be an enemy to your nefs and its caprice and attempt to reform it. For it inflicts more harm onto you than all else. So the biggest harm comes to you, not from others, your own nefs. The Quran says that too. Whatever befalls upon men, it's because of their own nefs. The Quran says. So biggest harm comes to us from our own nefs, not from others. Do not engage in enmity against other believers on account of that injurious soul. Here he's talking about nefsul emmare, human nefs. Again, if you wish to cherish enmity, hatred in your heart, there are unbelievers and atheists in great abundance. People who rebel against Allah. There you go. Be hostile to them, he says, but no, we should take that here for that. We started that long time ago. We shouldn't really have enmity against anybody. In fact, Hoca Efendi explains this a little differently. He says, Muslims, as believers, we don't want to remove anybody's head. We want to remove the wrong ideologies in their heads. Teach them the beauty, teach them the truth. We don't want to be hostile to anyone. In the same way that the attribute of love is fit to receive love as its response, so to enmity will receive enmity as its own fitting response. That's beautiful. See how Nursi is so, interesting with his words. He says, love in the heart will attract love, will get that response. And hatred will get a response of hatred. If you wish to defeat your enemy, then respond to his evil with good. There you go. This is very interesting. Respond to his evil with good. For if you respond with evil, enmity, hatred will increase. And even though he will be outwardly defeated, he will nurture that hatred in his heart and hostility will persist. That's true, isn't it? Even if you defeat someone, whether you overcome them with your tough talk and things like that, you haven't really defeated that person. He probably kept quiet then, but inside that hatred will develop. It will get more stronger towards you. But if you approach with love and care, compassion, everything will change. And maybe it's almost 45 minutes. Before I stop there, maybe I'll give you one interesting anecdote from myself. Some years ago, when I was overseas in Turkey, I had this friend and we went to a conference in Ankara. From Izmir to Ankara we went. And we were walking on the road, on the side of the road. And these two people coming from the other side, two big men, and they were from the eastern part of Turkey. They were Kurds, and they were carrying this bag of flour or something, or rice or something. And my friend next to me, he's going towards the bag, and they're carrying it like this. And then he wanted to jump over the bag. He's just going to play a trick, But as he was jumping, he stepped on it. He couldn't jump over, and it went down. You know? And one of the guys turned to him. He goes, "Are you crazy?" Like this. He walked on. And this friend of mine, he turned to him. He goes, "Oh, you're my friend." And he hugged him. He just hugged the guy. And the guy, you could see his anger instantly turned into a smile. And he said, "Oh, you're a joker." He went like that. See, 1 second of, compassion, bringing things down, changes everything. See, if my friend went on to him like that 2 days ago, they were going to start fighting, and who knows what would have happened. But the guy mellowed down straight away. As soon as he smiled and hugged him, everything changed. So if you respond to him with good, he will repent and become your friend. The meaning of the lines, if you treat the noble nobly, he will be yours. And if you treat the vile nobly, he will revolt, which is the truth. Inshallah, I'll stop there. In a way, Bediüzzaman Said Nursi explained the importance of brotherhood and sisterhood here.